Courageous Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks has been called the mother of the civil rights movement and one of the most important citizens of the 20th century. In the early 1950s, the bus system in Montgomery, as many parts of the United States, was segregated. Blacks were required to board the bus at the front, buy their tickets, and then reboard the bus in the back. So I say the word segregated. I'm thinking that segregated means that they were separated, because it's saying that the blacks had to go on the back of the bus. Sometimes they weren't able to get on the bus again before it drove away. They were not allowed to sit in the front of the bus, which sometimes made it difficult to get off at the right stop. Even if they were sitting in the black section, they were required to give up their seats to white passengers if the white section was full. In December of 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a city bus to a white passenger. The bus driver had her arrested. She was tried and convicted of violating a local ordinance. So tried and convicted means that she had to go on trial in court, and she was convicted. That means they found her guilty. She was guilty because she didn't follow a local ordinance. An ordinance is a law. Her act sparked a citywide boycott. A boycott is when people refuse to do something of the bus system. This refusal to ride the bus introduced the country to a clergyman named Martin Luther King Jr., who gained national prominence. That means importance, leading to the protest with words, "There comes a time that people get tired." Eventually, the U.S. Supreme Court is the highest court in the nation. So sometimes, people go to court when they're in trouble. So the U.S. Supreme Court is the highest court in the world. And they made a decision outlawing segregation on city buses. In December 1956, Montgomery's public transportation system was legally integrated. So if segregated means separated, integrated must mean that they're no longer separated. So highlight any sentence that shows evidence that Rosa was courageous. So since I highlighted words I didn't know in yellow, now I'm going to switch over to orange. So if somebody is courageous, that means they're not scared. Where does it talk about Rosa Parks? Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the city bus to a white passenger. She was tried and convicted violating a local ordinance. So she refused to give up her seat on the bus to a white passenger. She didn't think that she should be kicked off the bus. So she went to jail because of that. That shows that she's courageous. She did not give up. She said, you know what, put me in jail because I'm not giving up my seat because segregation is not right. How is this information presented? Okay, so is it presented in a description? Is it describing it? Kind of. Is it comparing and contrasting? It's definitely not telling how things are the same and different. Sequence, is it telling it in an order? 1, 2, 3. Yes. And classify, we haven't learned about yet. So I'm now torn between description, describing, and sequence. It didn't really describe a lot that went on. It more talked about the sequence, the 1, 2, 3, the order that it happened. So how did you decide the text structure of the text? So we said it was sequence. How did we decide that? Well, it tells us the story in order. So it tells us a story in the order it happened. Okay. Now, what was the cause? Remember, the cause is the reason. So what is the reason of the citywide boycott on the bus system? Mark all that apply. So whenever you see mark all that apply, it means there's going to be more than one right answer. Not necessarily more than one, but there could be more than one. So let's go one by one and see. The Supreme Court outlawed segregation on city buses. Okay. Was that the cause of the boycott? No. That happened because of the boycott. So that's not the reason. Blacks became tired of being treated differently because of the color of their skin. That's definitely a reason why the boycott happened. Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. That's definitely a reason why the boycott happened. Montgomery's public transportation system was integrated. That happened as a result. So that's not the reason. So B and C are the reasons, the cause of the boycott. So remember when this story, when everybody was boycotting, what was the reason? The reason was because the blacks were tired of being treated differently, and Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus. All of the other things are what happened because of it. What would be another good title for the article? The Supreme Court decision? No, it wasn't all about the Supreme Court decision. Montgomery public transportation? No. The mother of the civil rights movement? Yes. Or the great Martin Luther King? Martin Luther King was only a short part of it. So the best answer would be the mother of the civil rights movement, who was Rosa Parks. Okay? Rosa Parks is the reason why segregation on buses is no longer legal. So let's look courageous Rosa Parks. Okay? That is another good, the mother of the civil rights movement, and courageous Rosa Parks tell what this article is about. It's not talking about the Supreme Court decision. That's a detail. It's not talking about Montgomery public transportation. That's a detail. It's not talking about the great Martin Luther King. That's just a detail. What it's talking about is the mother of the civil rights movement. It's talking about how Rosa Parks changed the world because now blacks and whites can go on the bus together.